Well, I'd like to bring in my right-hand person, our own COO here, Aundrea. How's it going, Aundrea?
Hey, Keith, doing well. How are you?
Hey, good, but I think we're going to be doing better because as North America descends into a winter time here, we're going to be having some tropical thoughts today, drumming up some of those. We like to buy ourselves through GRE Marketplace. We truly do what we say and say what we do. We eat our own cooking, and you bought yourself, Aundrea, a tropical tiny home at gremarketplace.com/tiny homes. And Aundrea's going to share some screenshots today of this exciting tiny home that she got in Nicaragua. Yeah, Aundrea, I think first of all, maybe one would want to know, okay, now why did you decide upon Nicaragua?
Nicaragua was my first international investment in real estate, so that was pretty exciting. But for me personally, I had lots of options. This particular provider that we work with, they have them in many different countries throughout the Caribbean and Latin America. And I picked Nicaragua because I like the country a little bit more than others, meaning there are certain areas that aren't quite as developed. It's a little bit more adventurous to me. And so that's the reason I picked it as opposed to some of these more developed countries.
A lot of times you get a substantially better price.
That's right. It actually was quite a bit cheaper than some of the other countries. That didn't factor as much into my decision. Price-wise, it was more of, I just like a little bit more adventure. So while this property is on a resort, I still have the option to go to some of the cities and stuff that are pretty close.
Western Nicaragua. Now, Nicaragua is closer to the United States than a lot of Americans think. It's about a 3-hour, 10-minute flight from Houston. And then I have been on the west coast of Nicaragua, but I was further south than where you bought your tiny home. I was in San Juan del Sur. So in order to get from the capital and where most all international flights come in Managua there, what is it? Is it about a 1-hour drive out to your tiny home?
Yep, approximately. It's very close. I think it's the closest resort in Nicaragua to the airport. So
yeah, now that's really important, that access. So you're definitely far enough away from the capital to get that resort beachy feel, but yet you have good access at the same time. So really well positioned that way.
Yeah, it is. It really is. That was one of the considerations as well.
Why don't we go ahead and take a look at what one of these completed tropical tiny homes looks like?
Yeah, so this is a rendering of the actual home that I purchased that's being built right now. This is a 2-bed, 2-bath home. There is 1 bedroom and 1 bathroom on the top level there. There's a bedroom and a bathroom on the bottom level also. And then you can see in the rendering here, there's this little kitchen space that opens up to the outdoor patio. So I think on the inside, if I remember correctly, it's about 448 square feet. And then externally total, it's just under 700 square feet.
Okay, so 448 square feet divided amongst 2 stories, a bedroom and a bathroom on each story. And the second story there, it looks like it has a balcony.
It does, yes. And then I don't know how much you can tell from the photo here, but this is also a solar paneled home. So you have the option of using the solar power to power the home, or you can switch it to the grid. So you have both in case there's, you run out of power, solar's not working. If there's a power outage, you then have the solar power that can kick in as well.
That is a really good option there. How much did you pay for this tiny home?
The current prices of today are nowhere near close what I paid for when I went under contract about 1.5 years ago. So I think with furniture and everything, I paid about $150 1.5 years ago, fully furnished. I believe this same model is going for a little bit closer to $200,000 right now.
Yeah, construction costs are only going up with inflation in the price of both materials and labor, of course, and prices will probably never be as low again as they are today. So yeah, that's a really good looking home there.
So this is the master plan. So you can see here, these are all of the tiny homes, the little circles here. And then mine is number 16. So I strategically picked somewhere that was closest to the bar and the pool because that's what I plan on probably doing on my time when I'm there. But there's still available homes in this community, which is surprising to me. So there's still plenty of homes available in the community, both that are already under construction. And I think there's lots available also.
Looks like it's surrounded by quite a few trees.
There are. So there are trees all around the development. There is a river that actually runs on one side of it, furthest away from the ocean. And then you also have access, I believe the tiny home community is about 200 yards, which don't quote me on this. I want to say that's about 600 feet away from the beach itself. So it's very, very close.
All right. That's really good. And then what is access like from the highway?
You have to drive a little bit through the community to get to it, but it's not far at all. It's just a minute or two.
Well, this begins to develop in one's mind's eye the actual activities that one can do outside of these brand new construction, tropical tiny homes. Tell us about some of those activities, beach and ocean and otherwise.
Yes, you have the river, you have the beach, you've got parking places that are in between the beach and the homes. And then some of the kind of activity areas they've set up there's a butterfly garden on the opposite side of the pool and bar. There's a yoga area and a viewing tower if you want to be able to see the whole community. One of the things I think is really neat is they have a communal garden where you can actually go and get locally sourced and grown plants and food, and you can plant your own too. There's, as I mentioned, the workspace, the bar and restaurant. So there is a restaurant right there in the community. And then they also have a bird watching area for those that like to do that.
I think I've heard more about the bar than the beach at this point, but that's quite okay. But really, the point is that this developer's done business in this region for more than 20 years, and they understand that it isn't just about home building. It's about building a community and a sense of community and activities and things to do right there on site, should you so choose.
That's right. Yep. You have access to all of that. And I don't know the most recent update on this, but when I started having conversations with the developer, I think they're planning on doing an American school on the premises. They're looking at building grocery stores and other things like that into future developments.
Before we go ahead and look at some more imagery there, just tell us about the process for getting started, because like I mentioned, these are new build homes. So tell us about that process. A lot of times, a foreigner cannot get financing at all in some of these Central American nations. It can be really difficult. But I know in this case, you could get some financing. So tell us about that loan and starting the construction process.
Yeah, absolutely. So I ended up, mostly because I was curious about the process, but I ended up opting to do some financing, partial financing on the property. So I believe the lender that they use that's out of Belize, not out of Nicaragua, it's a Belize bank. They have two options. They have 80% financing and 50% financing. Your interest rate changes based on how much you're financing. So I was able to get a much lower interest rate at the time with a 50% financing of the property. 80% was quite a bit higher. So that's why I opted for that.
Tell us about that timeline with the construction process, and thinking about the fact that you bought it a year and a half ago. We know what was going on in the world with supply chain disruptions and everything else. So I'm going to imagine it wasn't a smooth construction timeline for you.
You know what? It was about probably on par with what we see in the US on average. So from the time I signed the contract to the time I actually sent in my first payment was a couple of months. So it took a little while for me to be able to get all the paperwork mailed, has to be shipped internationally. There's a lot more document requirements that are different than what we experience here with a traditional mortgage in the US. It's not harder, it's just new and different. So I wasn't able to kind of get through things as quickly as I would if I were purchasing here. So I had to do the documents. Eventually we got the loan approved. So that took probably 1 to 2 months, if I remember correctly. There was lots of information I had to provide for that. You have to set up an actual legal entity there in Belize as well. So I set up a corporation in Belize to hold the real estate. And we ended up transferring our shares in that corporation to the bank itself. So that was something interesting that I don't think I realized I would have to do. So they actually kind of own my shares in the corporation now as well.
Okay, so this is a great way for you, potentially the listener, the viewer here, to learn about how to be an international real estate investor. And then the provider, they give you this concierge service to make this easy for you.
Yeah, so the provider was kind of holding my hand throughout the process. Anytime I had a question or needed anything, they answered very quickly. So they were kind of the liaison between the legal, government authorities there in Belize, as well as the bank also.
They also have a portal where you as an investor conveniently can log in and take a look at updated construction photos as it moves along and so on. And hopefully your construction should go faster than Aundrea's, I'm going to speculate to say, since we're beyond most of those supply chain snags that we had a year and 2 years ago. But before we look at your portal, Aundrea, and we'll bring that up shortly and see what you can do with that, There are a few different models, a few different types of tiny homes you can buy. As great as the one looked that you told us about there, 2 stories, 448 square feet. Tell us more about why you chose the model home you did and about some of the other models.
Yeah, so there are smaller, cheaper models. You can get studios, you can get 1 bedroom, 1 bath. I believe there's even a 2 bedroom, 1 bath. I chose it ultimately because we plan on spending some time there. And my husband and I probably don't want to stare at each other and our kid all day, every day. So we need a little bit of space. And of course, I need to be able to work for Get Rich Education when I'm traveling also. So I need a little bit more space than I think a lot of people do.
More than 448 square feet at times, depending on your family size and maybe your spouse's disposition that day. Who knows?
That's exactly right.
Well, then tell us some more about that and how you plan to use the home as far as, is it convenient to put it in a short-term rental pool there? Because I would imagine a lot of investor owners like you, maybe you plan to use it a few weeks a year and then rent it out during the other ones.
Yeah, great question. So the developer has their own property management company, their own site that does manage it for you. You can opt to put it into the rental program. There are positives and negatives to that. I think they're probably going to do a lot better job marketing the property and getting people in there than I would, because I don't know the area. I don't even know who to market to internationally at the moment. So I opted to go into the rental program. I think that the one con, which wasn't a con for me, but maybe for some people, is that you are limited on the amount of time you can actually stay in the property yourself if you put it in the rental program. You can choose, for example, to stay more than the 2 weeks they allot you during the high season. But if you stay longer than that, you kind of drop to the bottom of the list as far as interest in the property and then marketing it. So they're not going to market you as much as someone who has full availability. So we do plan on going and staying maybe 1 to 2 weeks a year, probably not more than that, because I like maximizing my cash flow and I want it to stay in that rental program.
All right, so it sounds like there are at least 3 options for owners then. Live there year round, make it your primary residence if you want to. Secondly, you can put it in the short-term rental pool and kind of manage that yourself and do the marketing yourself. Or then thirdly, you can put it in this, I'll introduce the term turnkey rental pool that the developer already has set up for you, or they know about all the marketing channels and the efficiencies themselves.
Yes, that's exactly right.
Yeah. All right. So there's some real options there.
So the nice thing about this developer is they set every single buyer up on their own portal so that at any point in time, I can log in, I can look at photos, which you can see here, of the progress of the home. They even provide messaging updates. If there's anything going on that I would need to be made aware of, they put some notes in the system. A recent example was there was a little bit of delay on construction for just a few weeks. It wasn't significant, but a little bit. And I didn't even have to ask why. They let me know proactively that it's been an unusually rainy season here. So we're not able to build the homes as fast as we normally would because everything's wet. And great, now I don't have to call you and ask for an update because it's right there in the portal.
Yeah, you're dealing with a professional company with about 100 employees and all kinds of efficiencies and systems here. And here in the portal that we're looking at, for example, even down in the left sidebar, they show the temperature at the development there, and they show the short-term forecast over there in the sidebar. And also, just to keep one updated, over in the sidebar, they show the job price summary, the contract price paid, any outstanding change orders and things like that. So you can really stay up to date here in your investor portal. Is there anything else with the portal?
Yeah, I mean, they show you, I'm going to try to see if you can see this. They'll have some relative documents if there's anything you need to see or view that'll be uploaded there. They have the option to put videos. I haven't seen those yet, but there are dozens and dozens of photos here. And then here's the messaging app that they have as well, where they can put the comments and the messages. Here, a photo, the most recent as of last week of my home here. So you can kind of see it's coming together on the exterior. They're starting to do some of the interior work this week, and it is on track to be completed by the end of 2022. So I'm excited about that.
Okay, that's coming up really soon. We're seeing the external structure there and the block.
They actually provide a project plan too. So you have a calendar you can go look at and you can see exactly when they're supposed to starting the next phase. And it details things out like here's when the tile's going in, here's when we're putting in the countertops and things like that. So I can see everything they're doing between now and the end of December.
Yeah, that is really cool. Do you plan to go down there this winter and check it out once it's complete?
I think it depends on my son's behavior and how his attitude changes over the next couple of months, but probably, yeah.
Yeah, it's up to your son, your 2-year-old there. Yeah. Well,
Right.
this has been great, Aundrea. I really appreciate you sharing this with us so much. Is there any last thing that we should know about your tropical tiny home that should be done shortly there on the west coast of Nicaragua, really close to the beach?
Now, I don't think anything else about my tiny home, but I would encourage people, if you are interested, go out to our marketplace, reach out to the developer, talk to them, and understand more about what they have available. There's communities other than Nicaragua. So if that doesn't float your boat, you have plenty of options for that. The other thing I would mention is with inflation and how things are going, prices are probably going to go up. So if you want to lock in the pricing that they have now, you may want to move fast and not wait another year or two to get into it.
That's a great actionable tip. Well, I really appreciate you opening up and showing us one of your own homes, Aundrea. Thanks for coming on the show.
Thank you, Keith.